The Exorcism of St. Helena Church, the church that should never have been built. In 1866, on a hill overlooking Hollow East, construction began on St. Helena Church, a Gothic stone cathedral built over the ruins of pagan burial ground. The workers spoke of a strange whisper at night, tools disappearing, and shadows that crawled without a source of light. The church's founder, Archbishop Unveils, ignored the warning. He said, "The devil fears the house of God." But those who built it feared something else, the ground itself. On the final night of construction, one worker fell into a hidden chamber below the foundation. When they pulled him out, he was still breathing, but his eyes were completely white, and they muttered three words again and again: "She still lives here." No one knew that he meant until a century later. The first exorcism. In 1977, Father Matthias Crowe, a Vatican-trained exorcist, was summoned to St. Helens after a 16-year-old girl, Evelyn Ward, began exhibiting strange symptoms. She spoke Latin fluently, a language she had never learned, and her body controlled in impossible ways. Doctors found no illness. Her parents, desperate, turned to the church. The exorcism began into the dead of winter inside the church basement chapel. Witnesses said the crucifix melted from the heat that filled the room, though there was no fire. Father Matthews recorded the ritual in this diary. January 11, 1974. She laughed when I read the gospel. The voice was not hers. She said my mother's name. She said he saw her burning. January 12th. The girl's body flutters when we pray. The walls played when we stop. This is not possession. This is something older. Evelyn screamed for hours, then suddenly went silent. When Father Matthews approached her, she smiled and whispered, "It's not me he wants, it's you." Moments later, the candles exploded and Evelyn's heart stopped. Her body remained warm for 3 days, her eyes never closed. The Vatican sealed the church and forbade anyone to enter again. Father Matthews disappeared a week later, leaving only his blood-signed diary behind. The return. 50 years later, a documentary team of zoology students from Boston University came to Hollows East. Their professor, Dr. Caroline Finch, was fascinated by religious exorcism and wanted proof they were psychological, it's supernatural. The team, Ely, Nora, Mason, and David, arrived just before midnight. The townsfolk warned them, "If you heard the bell, don't look back." They left until they realized the church held tower and collapsed decades ago. Inside the church, the air was thick with mold and rot. Rows and wooden beds were covered in dust. A single candle still burned near the altar, though no one had been there in years. Ellie began setting up cameras. Nora found a hidden stairway under the altar leading to the basement, and there, half burned under babies, they found Father Matthew's diary. The final entry read, "The ritual was not complete. She is still in the walls." The awakening. At 2:59 a.m. The stars grew colder than ice. Their breath turned to fog. David said he saw movement, a woman's finger standing by the confessional. When he called out, the finger turned. Her face was covered in symbol, covered into her skin, and her mouth hung open as if screaming silently. Then she vanished into the darkness. Ellie replied, "The forget." The finger appeared in every camera angle, even when they faced different directions. It was as if she existed everyone in the church at once. Suddenly the bell rang 3 times, loud, deep, impossible. And then from the pulpit a voice, Evelyn's voice, echoed, "You come to finish what he could not." The walls began to move, and dozens of pale human hands passed through the cracked stones, racing out. The crucifix above the altar turned upside down, its shadow twisting into a hornet shape. Mason tried to run, but the door had fast shut. When they touched it, his palm burned with a cross-shaped cut. Nora screamed. Evelyn's reflection was every mirror, every portal, every camera lens. The final exorcism. Dr. Finn's desperate opened the diary again. The read alone the incomplete Latin passage from Father Matthew's notes. Deus relinquit diabolus manet corpus aperiat. That means God departs, the devil remains, the body opens. The moment she finished, Evelyn appeared in front of her. Her head twisted sideways, eyes black as coal. She whispered, "Thank you for setting me free." A scammed repeat through the church. The cameras went dark. 1 year later, police found the stars burned to ashes. No bodies were recovered. Only 5 rosaries, first into the shape of a pentagram. The footage from the students' cameras was cropped except for one life. The first frame showed Father Matthew's crew, still in his robes, standing behind the group. He had not aged a day. His mouth moved silently, and when the audio was slowed down, the whisper was clear. It was never heard.